mean that. When we fund the government this year, things better change, Mr. President. You come down here and you make threats to us about what you think is going to happen with respect to default. You come down here and lecture us in the people's house. Well, let me tell you, Mr. President, we're a co-equal branch of government. And we're not going to allow the American people to continue to be targeted by the very government that is supposed to protect them, that is supposed to do their constitutional duty, that is supposed to secure the border of the United States, that is supposed to stop fentanyl from coming in, that is supposed to have operational control of the border so that neither Americans nor migrants are dying, that is supposed to stop dangerous cartels, that is supposed to stand up to China, that is supposed to have a strong military, sparingly used but not woke. We're not supposed to spend money we don't have. We're supposed to balance our budget. We're supposed to defend the American people. And I'm not going to agree, sitting in the Rules Committee or on this floor, to continue the process of spending money we don't have, of not changing the status quo and not demanding that the President of the United States act like it, act like he's the president, defend this country, secure our border. He doesn't get to come down here and lecture us. The People's House decides how dollars get spent. The People's House represents the people. We need a reckoning. We need to actually stand up and fight, stand up and be counted. I'm not going to go around the circles that we constantly go around in this place, having another meeting about another meeting about another meeting. How about we just stand up for something? How about people be on the floor of this body debating? Get another hour of special orders, another half hour of special orders. I'm sick and tired of watching Texans that I represent die from fentanyl. I'm sick and tired of watching my fellow Texans in the state legislature debating right now spending more Texas taxpayer money to do the job the federal government is supposed to do and secure the border. I'm sick and tired of walking around on eggshells around a body comprised of members of both sides of the aisle that refuse to do their job to stop spending money we don't have and say, oh, well, what political poll-tested 80% issue can we put out there and go to the American people with so that we can sound reasonable in our demands? How about you just demand what's right? Why don't we just stand up and say, you know what, we're going to balance our budget. Giddy up. That's what every American does. It's what every business has to do. But no, we'll keep going around in circles, each side going to their pet projects. Meanwhile, the federal bureaucracy is going to continue to be at war with the American people, like my friend Scott Smith, who was here last night. Not one single mention by the president. Hadn't apologized a lick for putting him through that. Domestic terrorist. Hadn't apologized a lick for the fact that his Secretary of Homeland Security, who was here last night, stood up at a lectern and said that his own Border Patrol employees that worked for him whipped Haitian migrants when he knew full well, both from the video evidence that we all saw with our eyes and a memo from his own people in Department of Homeland Security, that was not true. He knew it. And then he blamed it on systemic racism. Has he apologized? No. And the reason he hasn't apologized is because he's at war with the people of the United States and the fact that his job is supposed to be to secure the border, and the president knows it. President goes down and does a photo op with a preset visit in El Paso where they literally go out and clean out the streets of the migrants who are piling up in El Paso and sets up a photo op. And then last night dares to come down here, lecture us, lie to the American people that we're trying to go after their Social Security and Medicare, and offer nothing about his constitutional duty as President of the United States to secure the border. Mr. Speaker, I will yield back here in a minute. I assume my time is running short. I'll just close by saying this. The American people expect more out of the People's House. They expect more out of the President of the United States than what we saw last night. It was not a State of the Union. It was a state of confusion. We have an obligation to do our job and stop spending money we don't have, secure the border of the United States, and actually represent the people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Members are reminded to direct their remarks to the chair and not to a perceived viewing audience.
And I just want to close by this, which is urging my colleagues to be willing to stand up to the White House. I'm confident that many, if not most of you, actually care about having a qualified judiciary. One of the things I cannot understand over the last 2 years is every Democrat member of this committee has voted for every single Biden judicial nominee 100% without failing. And I will say on the Senate floor, every Democrat has voted for every Biden judicial nominee. Not a single Democrat in the United States Senate has mustered the courage to vote no on a single nominee. And to be clear, it wasn't that long ago. We had a Republican president and a Republican majority in this body, and there were many of us who said on particular nominees, this is not a good nominee. We're not going to support this nominee. In fact, the John Kennedy test that Chairman Durbin referred to came from a Trump nominee who John Kennedy eviscerated at a hearing in a video that I still liken to watching a car wreck in slow motion. It was painful. But what happened? When it became clear that this individual was not qualified for the position for which he had been nominated, the White House withdrew the nomination. And it did so after a number of us made clear we're not going to support putting an unqualified person on the bench, pull the nomination back. So I would ask members of this committee, is there anyone, if the White House nominates a ham sandwich, are Democrats prepared to rubber stamp Judge Ham Sandwich? And this also connects to the discussion on the blue slip. Look, I understand politics. Sometimes we put on team colors and you're a Democrat or Republican and you vote with your party, and that for a number of issues is fine. But do any Democrat members of this committee actually care about defending the institution of the Senate and your authority as a senator to represent your state? Because the blue slip, fundamentally, it's not even a partisan issue. It is fundamentally about Article 1 versus Article 2. Now, Biden's judicial nominees have no idea what I just said. But the blue slip is all about, are judges going to be picked solely by the president or by the home state senators? And let's be clear, this is not just when the opposing party is in the White House. When Donald Trump was president, there were some, I think, 22 judicial vacancies on the district court in Texas. When Trump was president, Senator John Cornyn and I, we have a bipartisan federal judicial evaluation committee that puts out a notice, a call for application, that interviews, that selects very qualified nominees, recommends them to us. I can tell you, during the Trump presidency, Senator Cornyn and I, we met together, we agreed, and for each vacancy, we forwarded to the Trump White House one name. One name, and for every single one the Trump White House nominated, the one name we forwarded. If the Democrats in this